I got picked by the Marlins in 2010.
Like
See where I was going to go.
2010?
Yeah, 2010.
So how old were you in 2010?
18.
18.
Yeah.
But isn't there also, I mean,
You were not 18 in 2010.
were the guys on your team like, what, like this?
No,
like,
I mean,
that's a pretty crazy thing to come in.
I don't recommend doing what I did by any means. Usually that's a horrible idea and it's going to end really bad.
Cooper saying you scored 100 in one of those games?
This is 85. one of the men's league games. But I was actually there last night and my brother scored like 65.
Before we get into it, a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Spindrift Sparkling Water. Spindrift is the only sparkling water in America made with real squeezed fruit, and the difference is immediately obvious the second you crack one open. Real taste, simple ingredients, nothing to decode on the label. Find your flavor at drinkspindrift.com. Live from downtown Milwaukee. How are we feeling?
Pumped to be here.
Yeah, feeling good. Thanks for having us.
When did you feel like you really became a Brewers fan?
My grandpa and my aunt have had season tickets way up by the Bob Uecker statue for a long time. And so we used to go to games all the time. And so it really started from there. Those original teams that, first started to make the playoffs. And then, now with all the success they've had, thanks to this guy and others, really the fandom's really picked up.
Did you have when you were younger, was there a formative game? Was there like a moment where it could have been heartbreak, but was there a moment where you were like, okay, I'm past the point, I'm now all in?
No, I remember going to a bunch of games when I was younger. And then I remember first year of high school, all right, I'm going to follow every game this year. I'm going to be a Brewers fan. I'm all in. I was always kind of from afar a little bit. And so now I've pretty much, watched or followed every game. Probably since then.
What was that 5 years ago?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
2021? 21?
Yeah.
We were pretty good that year actually. Yeah. And then
what were you thinking when he got there?
So that was probably
2018 was my first year here, so middle school.
Yeah, well then he killed it.
That's crazy.
Right away. So I was gonna ask, so we there's a lot we have to hit, but just let's zero in 2018 for a second.
Yeah.
You get here. First of all, were you surprised by the trade?
A little, because I thought I was going to get traded in that offseason, and then it went through the whole offseason. So I was like, I guess spring training was starting in a week. So I was like, I guess I'm not going to get traded. So I was just getting ready to go to Florida for the Marlins spring training, and then got a call, hey, we traded the Brewers, and that spring training is that's in Arizona, so you have to completely flip your schedule. I didn't really know anybody on the Brewers. And then it was Fan Fest was 2 days after I got traded. So then I came here. It was the end of January. It was snowing and freezing. And this is definitely not Miami anymore. And I didn't really know anybody on the team. It was one of the few teams in the league where I didn't really know anybody or hadn't played, with somebody that had been on the team. So it was completely new to me. And then obviously ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me. And it's been a good run, but it was a little shocking just in the fact of it wasn't shocking. I was just surprised that it happened that late. I was expecting it to happen earlier in the offseason. I was like, I guess I'm not going. So I was fine with that too.
Had you ever, cause from LA to Miami, outside of playing in April here or Chicago or whatever, had you ever really had that sort of climate shift?
Yeah, a little. I mean, just from playing, we'd play in New York or Philly or DC early in the season, but not regularly. Here, our first road trip, we came back, everybody's car was snowed in and stuff like that. So that was different, but
this is different.
It was fine. I got used to it pretty quick, and I was really excited just for the fresh start, because most of the guys from the Marlins, they got traded that year, and then I was kind of the last one to get traded that off season. So it was just a quick little whirlwind, but ended up being an awesome opportunity.
So that season, I have the stats written down, but they're very, very good. It feels like you get here and take off immediately in every possible way. You were one vote shy of unanimous MVP. You were very close to the Triple Crown.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like to come to a new team and do
just
that.
like one of those, you don't ever expect that, you know what I mean? It just happens. And it's one of those things where like, you just always try to continue to like get better throughout your career, you know, like, especially in baseball, it's such a grind. Like you play every day. So you kind of just like put your head down and just give yourself to like the season and continuing to improve and try to be like the best version of yourself and the best version of your team that year. And then you look up at the end and kind of see where you're at. And that year it was just like, I kind of just found myself in that position at the end, like just kept trying to get better, made some adjustments, like randomly tried something in the cage coming back from like the All-Star break, like the first day, like watched a bunch of video like the night before the second half started, just to kind of try to see where we're at going into the second half of the season. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go in the cage tomorrow and just like, I'm just going to try this. And told our hitting coach at the time, I was like, hey, I'm going to try something like crazy to get loose. Like, don't freak out. Like, I'm just going to do it for a little bit. And then felt good and just rolled it into the game and then got hot.
What was it?
It was just like a timing thing where I was just trying to be like earlier and just like feel different things. Like hitting in baseball is like, just for me at least, it's very like feel based. And so I was like, I'm just going to try it and see how it feels to get loose. And then I was like, I like it. And then we were facing Rich Hill that night, and he's like a lefty pitcher that he throws from like a bunch of different arm slots, ton of curl. It's just really like funky at bat. So like, screw it, I got nothing to lose. Like, I'm just going to do this during the game tonight and see what happens. And it ended up being a really good game. It felt good, and then just stuck with it. I think like anytime you make adjustments and you get like immediate feedback from something, you get buy-in, and then it's easier to like stick with it. And you know, a lot of that's luck, because if you went and sucked that game, you would have probably just pulled the chute on it and gone back to the old stuff. So
Right.
Have you ever done that with your shot?
I feel like the shot's a little trickier to play with. I think there's some things that you always like fall back and focus on, especially if you're not shooting it well. Some things to really like. I always think about, you know, the shots coming off my hand a little weird. Like I always try to piece release, like especially. I think normally it's just with the feel with the hands, but there isn't really a whole lot of like, I'm just going to try something new.
This is what's amazing about this.
Yeah.
Is
So you guys getting like bad habits, like shooting? Can you get in like a bad habit, or you're just like go in the gym one day and you'll shoot a shot and you're like, what happened? Like, where did it go?
Yeah, you can get into a stretch where it's like a week or two where it's like, why am I doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And then you just kind of got to remind yourself, get back to what feels comfortable. But
well, there's also, I feel like historically in basketball, anytime someone dramatically changes their shot, like it's one thing if they change like their shot profile, like where they're like, they start shooting more threes or whatever it is, but like they actually physically change their shot. Like it doesn't I can't think of any time where it's like, oh yeah, that ended up better.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
That rarely goes well, especially like we have high school coaches in the area. It's like once you get to like sophomore year, like you go with what you got, because it's just really hard to adjust post all of your life trying to fix what actually
Were the guys on
do.
your team like what, like this?
No,
like,
I mean,
that's a pretty crazy thing to come in.
I don't recommend doing what I did by any means. Usually that's a horrible idea and it's going to end really bad. But I just felt convicted in it, you know, and it didn't happen. Like it wasn't like one day to the next. It was like completely different. It was probably like about a month where it was like what I thought I was doing in my head, like physically matched what my body was doing, you know? So I was like telling myself one thing that I thought I was doing, and then just assumed my body was like matching it. But then I feel like it always takes a little while when you like make mechanical adjustments to like your body to like what you're mentally thinking for it to like physically show up. Cause like hitting, if you like hold your hands here and then like you move them like 2 inches up, it feels like you're holding them like above your head, but it's not, you know, it probably looks the same like on video and stuff like that. I don't know for you guys too, but it just took a little while, and I don't know. A lot of things went right in that situation. And like, I wouldn't ever recommend anybody like coming back from the All-Star break and completely switching everything that you do.
Especially because you were playing well the first half of the season too.
Yeah, I was played in the All-Star game like 2 days before that. Came back here. We had a day off. Was kind of bored, I think. So I was like, I'll just watch some video going into the second half. And I think going into the All-Star break, I was like, I don't like feel like that great at the play. So I was like, played the game, came back. I was like, all right, like let's try to see what's going on before we pick back up tomorrow. And then kind of just started going down some rabbit holes, and there we were.
How did that stretch feel? Like, I'm always so interested where you're like, if that season and then into the next season, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Like, how does that, like you're obviously the MVP. Like, I'm the best player in the league.
Yeah.
I'm the best player in the world. Like,
yeah, it was weird.
Like?
It was a weird feeling because I don't know. Like, I still think I'm like just like regular, you know, like normal guy hanging out with your friends, like all that stuff. And then like your life changed so quickly to where it was just different. But from like a baseball standpoint, it was more of just, you know, it's looking back on it. I think you always kind of think like it was just like a smooth ride, like everything was going good, but there's like ups and downs throughout it. I think the end of the season, a lot of the times it was just, you just feel like super locked in, like you're in the zone. Like it was just, I remember being like really, really focused during that. And not that you're not always focused, but it was just like my guard was like always up. I wasn't really just like, wow, like this is going on. I'm doing really good right now. Like this is awesome. Like it was just like I was very locked in on like the day-to-day process, like the routine, preparing for the games. Like when the game started, it was just focus. And I was really just had to focus hard on like blocking out a lot of the outside noise of like people trying to tell you like how good you were doing and how good the team's doing. And so I had to really lock in on that. But a lot of times you're just like, you know, especially at the end of the season, we played a series the last 3 days here in Milwaukee against the Tigers, and we were trying to chase the Cubs down at the time, and hit a few homers there. Like the stadium was packed. You know, I think I hit a homer like the first game here, like first at bat back, like place went crazy, and then had a 2-homer night the next night. And, you know, after that, I kind of knew that I was going to end up winning the MVP. It was just like weird going home from like that atmosphere, like place going crazy, like the whole stadium chanting like MVP. And then like, you're just going back to like your apartment, hanging out by yourself. Like, that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Just being like regular person, like talking to your buddies from like back home and stuff. And it was just kind of a surreal year.
So I remember we did an ep with Pete Crow Armstrong, who's obviously a bit younger, but he talked a lot about the mental side of it in baseball in particular, and how it's, you know, the specific challenges of baseball, even compared to other sports, where you can get in your head. When do you feel like, broadly speaking, you're never going to like fully figure it out, but you got to like become more comfortable with that side of the game?
Yeah. I mean, so much of baseball, I think, is just like confidence based. Like you just got to make yourself confident, and guys do that different ways, you know, like, and you got to deal with failure really well. I think that's why it's such a mental game, is because you're going to fail a lot and, you know, have to navigate that. And I think that's one of the hardest things for like younger players, is because you just fail, and then you have to like prove to yourself that like you can stick in the major leagues and like get yourself through that failure and adjust. Because, you know, I don't know how it is going from like college to the NBA, but from the minor leagues to the big leagues, it's such a big jump in competition, just because of like the scouting reports are so much more in depth, like the pitching's so much better. There's no like the NBA, there's no higher leagues. Like in the minor leagues, like all the players just, if you're good, you go to the next level, you go to the next level. Like obviously here, like they get here and they stay here for a really long time, and you have to, you know, fit in basically. And guys have to prove that to themselves.
Do you have a version of that? I mean, I feel like, I'm just curious your perspective in general, but also just as a shooter, there's an interesting parallel of, you know, you hit 300. You're making an all-star team every year. That's amazing. That's 3 out of 10. You shoot 40% from 3, 4 out of 10. You are one of the best shooters in the league. So you both have to get used to the idea that like, you're not going to hit every shot.
Yeah.
You're going to strike out a lot. These things are going to go wrong, and you have to be able to like block them out.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to one of my brothers about it. Like, you know, this year I missed more shots than I made. You know, like that's just something you gotta live with. And people talk about you like, oh man, you had like an awesome shooting season. Similar to baseball. I mean, a 300 hitter is like all world, and you know, it's failing 70% of the time. So I think just being able to, you know, kind of throw the result aside, and like your process is so important. As far as that, giving you confidence. I think when times I'm not shooting it great, it's just like, I can live with that process, going back and looking at the tape and like, man, it looks good. Looks the same as, some of the shots that went in. I'm going to keep shooting it. And just kind of living with the process and not, really relying on that result as much.
Do you guys have like superstitions or any sort of like detailed part of your process that you feel like on the mental side gets you through?
I don't for that, just because of like baseball is such a long year that I'm just like, I just can't do this I can't do this every day for 8 months. I'm gonna go crazy. No, it's just more like confidence based of just being like, for me, it's a little easier now because I've navigated so many seasons that you kind of just lose like the freak out factor of like, is this going to be all right? Is it going to happen? Like I've had seasons where I've started amazing and I've had seasons where I've been absolutely awful earlier in the year and then like played it through and finished fine, so that helps a lot to look back on experience. I don't know about you.
Yeah. I mean, obviously like my first time doing it, but like also I've never been a big, like, I've always had like a good routine and like I wanted to, but it's really hard to, do the same thing for, 80 days. I think a lot of guys do a really good job of having that strict routine. And I would say like mine's pretty strict, but like as an actual like confidence, I don't have anything really for that other than, maybe.
Did you ever have like a feeling of like, oh, I can play, like I can play here? Or do you know that going into like, I'm sure you knew that you could play in the NBA, but like, I feel like as a player, like I can play here, but like, we're going to find out, that's when I got called up. I was like, I'm pretty sure I can play in the major leagues, but like going to find out here pretty soon.
Yeah. I mean, like we had a bunch of early injuries early on. Yeah. So it was easier to like, I kind of just got thrown in the fire. Mm-hmm. And so I had some success early, which I think really, really helped. Give me confidence, for the rest of the season, and even with the rest of our team back. Like they knew they could trust me. And I think that the biggest part is like gaining that coach's trust, mm-hmm. And your teammates' trust. I feel like that's like a really, really huge thing in hoops.
Yeah. In sports really is like just getting the confidence of like, I can do it. Like I belong here, takes you to like that next level because you're not like, oh, can I? You're like, no, this is what I do.
Did you guys have, on the flip side, we always talk about like welcome to the NBA moments, but like, did you have moments, not like where your necessarily confidence was shaken, but more just like, oh yeah, these are the best people in the world. And I'm like, I thought that I feel that I'm on that level, but I'm still watching something happen, either not even to you necessarily, but that you just see in the course of the game where you're like, this just feels like different than anything I've ever seen.
I think, a lot of people that have, like I have a lot of people like family, just people from Wisconsin in general that have like, they'll come up and tell me like, I watched the NBA again because you're playing, which I think is cool. And I think it gives them, there's a lot of people that talk about like, oh, NBA is not great basketball, or that's just kind of a thing, but they don't really watch. And so I think the cool thing is like they watch and like, there's now an appreciation for the size, the speed of these guys, especially if you go to a game in person. And so it's seeing guys like Brook Lopez, who's just like a huge human being, or seeing, like the Thompson twins who are just superhuman athletes running around. They're so fast.
Have you watched them play, the brothers?
No, I've watched a lot of like NBA games, and I've gone to a bunch of Bucks games over the years here being with the Brewers. And the thing that I always take away, especially when you get to watch the game up close, is like how like little space there is like on the court, and like how fast the game is. As far as I was always just like, holding the ball for like 10 seconds on the court feels like an impossible thing, so much. Those guys, like you said, their guys are so big and the game's so fast, and just like incredible athletes, guys that are 6'8", 7 feet tall, just like moving like it's nothing.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I feel like guys make the game, like sometimes it's hard to appreciate on TV, but the guys make the game look so easy. Like NBA players really always like at a high level make the right read, the right play.
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of taken for granted because it looks a little easy on TV, and then you go see a game in person maybe, and it's just like it's really hard to like, the game moves so fast. Like you got to make quick decisions.
I think another thing, and this is certainly the case with you guys as well, but we're seeing this in the playoffs right now with like Minnesota, for example, where they've had these crazy injuries. And they're literally just next man up. Where it'll be like Ant is out. So now Ayo's got to come in, and Ayo comes in and scores 43 points off the bench to like win a playoff game against like a champion team. Then Ayo gets hurt. Then it's like, all right, well, Terrence Shannon, who like hasn't played at all, is all of a sudden coming in and dunking on people. And you just realize like everyone on that roster can do it. So it's just really, that feels like a little bit of the confidence thing too of the right system, the right coach, the right organization, having it feel like, okay, I'm ready to fit in this, rather than being like, I've been sitting on the bench doing nothing and my, mental side is so messed up that I have no chance when I get thrown into the fire.
Yeah. And like how talented guys are that are like
just there
in those leagues. Yeah. Like the best in the world.
But it's like a credit to those guys too, like, because there are guys that are just like checked out. They're not playing. They're on the bench. But like Terrence Shannon was like an all-time college basketball player.
Yeah.
And he comes in, he's ready to go.
Now a quick break and a shout out to our friends at Spindrift. Spindrift is the only sparkling water made with real squeezed fruit, so you can really taste the difference when you drink it. It's full of flavor. Spindrift uses real fruit sourced from farms in all their products. I just poured out a grape-based Spindrift, and you can immediately see that it's got real grape juice in there. When you look at the label, it's just carbonated water, Concord grape juice, and lemon juice. Simple ingredients, short label, yet tastes amazing. This is honestly how all sparkling water should taste. Spindrift is verified non-ultra processed by the non-UPF verified standard, so you can feel good about drinking it again and again. There's 20 different flavors in the Spindrift lineup, all made with real squeezed fruit. Truly, once you taste the difference, everything feels like a step down. I got so many Spindrift flavors that I like that it's hard to actually pick one of them. Island Punch, always amazing, especially as we head into summer months. Raspberry Lime is also fantastic. You can really have it at every meal. You can find Spindrift at all major grocery stores, but if you head to drinkspindrift.com, you can take 15% off your first order by using code YOUNGMAN at checkout. That's drinkspindrift.com. Thanks, Spindrift. Did you play any other sports when you were growing up?
Not in high school. I played a little bit of basketball, a little bit of football up until high school, and then figured if I was going to do anything in sports, it was probably going to be in baseball. So I was going to give it a shot going into high school.
Were you Lakers, like all?
I went to mostly Laker games growing up. I think maybe like a Clipper game, but yeah, I'd go watch like Kobe and Shaq and those guys play all the time when I was like really, really little.
Was the baseball scene super competitive out there?
Yeah. I mean, it's different now because youth sports and like travel ball and all that's like so prevalent now. It was kind of just picking up a little bit when I was younger. Like I did some travel ball probably when I was 12-ish and then a little bit in high school. And then now it's just like every kid's playing like travel baseball. And I think like for you guys, like AAU stuff and that world's gotten a lot crazier.
It's
like,
a wild place.
Do you feel like it's harder? I feel like we've talked about this in the basketball world, just with all the changes with everything with NIL and AAU. Do you think the baseball world has changed in terms of like the trajectory of how guys get to the majors?
Yeah. I mean, guys get there so much quicker now. There's like less stops in the minor leagues and guys go from college a little bit quicker to the major leagues now. Like these guys do it, which I think is crazy. They've spent a year in college out of high school and then it's like right to the NBA, baseball. It's not really like, you don't really go from high school a year later to be in Major League Baseball, but a lot of college guys are starting to do it now, which is different. And, the draft's gotten smaller, a lot more college guys are getting picked now. NIL is changing that for like high school baseball players going to college because you can still get paid a little bit now.
Was it 3 years? 3 years?
3 years for us, yeah.
Do you think now that you've lived through all versions of this, do you think that there are certain 18-year-olds that you feel like could play in the majors?
No, not right away. Just because of like the physical maturity and then just having to, the game's just so different in baseball, just like pitching. Like you're not going to face any of that pitching in high school. You'll face guys with like some good stuff, guys that throw hard, all that, but that's the biggest thing. And then learning how to play that schedule, like play every day is a lot, just how to take care of your body, how to get through the ups and downs, how to navigate like the 6 months of playing every day. I think that's a little bit of a harder part other than the talent,
The schedule is so
it's an insane schedule.
It's fun for fans.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I can.
I was like,
what are the Brewers
I don't
doing
want
today?
to I don't want to sidetrack the conversation with this, but I'm just curious. Like, I'm like, even just filling time outside of baseball, because you just are. It feels like you got to develop hobbies like outside of.
Well, you're just in it, because our days are different. I don't know what time you guys have like shoot around and stuff, and then you go home and then go to the stadium later.
Yep.
So like we go to the stadium, 7:00 game, you're there like 1:00, and then you don't leave till like the game's over. So like 11:30 midnight, you're getting back home, and that's every day unless you have like a day game. But a lot of the times after those day games, you're flying somewhere for the next day. So we're just in it, when it starts, you're in it. You get 18 off days a year, and then you just learn to go. Like as the season goes on, you just get in that routine, and looking back on the year, it feels like it flies because you're doing it every day. But sometimes you're going through it like this is a grind, or we get 18 games in like 17 days or something. Like have to play a doubleheader, which we're gonna do in a couple months. So we just got rained out in St. Louis 2 days ago. So now we'll have 18 games in 17 days, like right before the All-Star break.
Are you targeting like I feel like with certain NBA teams, it's like, oh, we're in Miami. Like there's the cities where you're like either from a going out standpoint or even just like this is the one that we're kind of circling as like I feel like the Cubs
there's like
probably
fun places to play. There's like a fun place to play, or like if a hotel's like really nice, or we already had our Miami trip, but you stay at like a pretty nice place in Miami, and it's kind of just like the mornings. The mornings are kind of what you get in baseball. You get the morning off. And,
That's nice.
Get there. Yeah. It's just
nice.
Hang out, do whatever you want till you go to the field. So there's some like cool places. Like we're just in Boston, which is really cool. It's freezing, so it's a little bit different, but that's kind of how you get through it. Like, oh, like this trip's cool. Or like, oh, we got like this off day here. Just you pick little milestones. Do
you guys have any like is there any stadium where you feel like I feel like I'm curious your perspective at MSG, because guys say this about MSG a lot, where the first time they get in there, because you mentioned Boston and Fenway.
Mm-hmm.
The first time you get in there, you're a little bit just like, oh yeah, I'm doing this I'm playing at MSG, I'm playing at Fenway. Do you feel like there's a home field advantage for anyone?
I mean, I think the Marlins have the best home field advantage. When I used to play there, we used to beat teams on Sundays like all the time because people would go out. Even when we had really bad teams there, like we would beat the best teams in the league on Sunday because guys would have the flu or just be exhausted after their, for the day game.
That's so funny you say this. This used to be a betting all the betting stuff. This used to be a betting thing with the LeBron Heat, because every time during the regular season, they would play a Sunday day game. It was like the best team in the league. They were going to the finals every year. They play a Sunday day game. It would always be like the Wizards or some random team would come in and beat them. And people started, like the bettors started to pick up on this. They were like, any Sunday like Miami day game, like all bets are off. Like who knows what's going to happen.
It's like what you said. Teams like look forward to those trips. They go to dinners or like go out or who knows what happens. And then we wouldn't draw very good either there. So like guys, I don't know. I just always felt like we did pretty good on day games there. I could be completely wrong about that, but
did you have a
I would say, I mean, MSG, like you said, like I feel like when you go there for shoot around, it's kind of different. Cause you don't even like shoot around. Nobody's there. Like you don't really, you gotta walk up the long ramp, which is sick. But then once you get out there, it's like, holy smokes. This is basketball Mecca. So that gets you a little bit. I will say the Miami thing, we played there twice really early in the season. And so we were done. We didn't play there for like the rest of the season. But that was one of the first times, and we did it throughout the season, but we would just stay over the night before in whatever city we were. And I was like, oh, I think that kind of was to avoid the Miami people going out. So they keep you guys. Yeah, but we had an off day in Miami, and that it's awesome down there.
You're going to stay over in Portland and fly.
Yeah.
We stay like really far. Like we stay far away from like all the stuff in Miami when we play there now. So you're just kind of like contained to like, but guys are pretty responsible now. Like the game's a lot different than it was like way back in the day. But yeah, man. I mean, for us, Fenway Park was like really cool for me the first time, or like Yankee Stadium, just places like that. We're like, oh wow, like this is Major League Baseball.
What's the rotation like? When, like how often?
It's different now. So we play like every other year. We switch off. We play everybody in the league now. Before it used to be like you play the National League and then you would play one division from the American League that year.
Gotcha.
And then if we didn't go to Yankee Stadium that year, we wouldn't go back there for 6 years.
Wow.
So it took me 8 or 9 years to play at every stadium in the big leagues. Now
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So now it'll just take you 2 because it's every other year. But we used to play everybody in our division 19 times a year. And then, you'd play one.
Yeah, I remember looking at the calendars, like Cubs.
Yeah. You'd like play these guys all the time.
What is that series like, the Cubs series like for you now? Just with the recent history.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun. I mean, we've definitely played a lot of interesting games against those guys over the years, and it's been a good rivalry. Like the fan bases don't like each other at all. Like, and we've played each other in a lot of really big games, and they've been fun. Postseason last year was a big series, and those are just like the games you're just like, we're not losing. We don't want to lose. Like, we're winning. Like losing is not an option here. And, it's still a lot of fun though. And those are the games like you play for. The atmospheres are great. They're usually pretty tightly contested games. 2 good teams going at it. Like they've been pretty good the last few years. So I really enjoy them.
What's your feeling on it?
Yeah, I love them. Well, I mean, last year was awesome. It's like they had a phenomenal year. And so you're going into it and it's like, man, we have the chance to play the Cubs. We really want to play the Cubs. Like that would suck. But then when you beat the Cubs, it's like, oh, that makes it so much sweeter.
I feel like, were you sweating game 5 last year?
Of course.
I'm nervous all day.
There's a feeling of like, man, we could definitely play the Cubs. It's like, I don't know if I want, like, I don't know if I need the extra feeling as a fan. But it was definitely great.
I feel like both fan bases felt that way when we played each other. And was like, I guess we're doing this because it hadn't happened before. I don't think ever. Which we never played each other in the postseason before.
I was wondering that, and then also I feel like it's somewhat similar with Bears Packers too. Of like you're both so excited, and you also have that. It's like the double pit of like, not only may we lose, but we might lose.
It's like your season's over, but then like we lost to it.
Yeah, no, it could have been one of the best years of my life if the Packers didn't blow it to the Bears as a fan.
What was your diagnosis of why that happened?
Well, we were playing. So this was the game we beat Utah by like 60. And so I'm like sitting on the bench of the whole fourth quarter. I'm like, and I think I ran out there at halftime and we're up like 21-3. And I'm like, yo, what's the score? And they're like, I don't even remember it was like 24-18 or something. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I was so mad. And then he bumped me with like 3 minutes left in the game. He's like, they lost. I was like,
dude, that's the worst way. It's the worst way to find it out. It's kind of like, would you rather watch it in real time or just get the Spark Notes afterwards?
Yeah, all my buddies were like, I'm glad that you were playing while you didn't have to see that.
Did you take on the Packers being up here?
Yeah, I mean, I root for the Wisconsin team. You get to know guys like, on the different teams. So you're always rooting for them. And, Chicago sports fans talk a lot of shit. So you're definitely not rooting for them ever. So, I was rooting for the Packers and, root for the Bucks. Obviously want the Brewers to do really well. So
what was when you were growing up, your brothers, what was the vibe like? Like, how competitive were you guys? Like, what was the...
So I'm 2.5 years older than Cager, who's the second oldest. And then all the rest of them are a year apart. So I was always like physically ahead and like, they didn't want to play me a whole lot. Because
they would play each other.
Because I would win. They would play each other within each other, but they didn't want to play against older brother for a while. But now when we play, it's a lot more fun. My second brother's like 6'9.5", and then the middle brother Kinston is taller than me now, so it's fun. The games are fun. I always pick up little bro, and then the 3 other ones will play together, and we'll grab my dad or something.
Do you guys have a spot where you always play, or you kind of mix it up?
Yeah, so in our driveway we have like a full court where the 3-point lines touch, they kiss, and we have like a hoop in the ground, and then we roll the other one out.
Dude, you guys could live stream these games.
Some intense driveway.
We just played on Wednesday on like 8.5-foot hoops, and I picked up my cousin and my little brother, and like we lost. It was not good. Not good.
We did an app maybe like a month or 2 ago with Cooper, and the clip had just come out about your dad, where it was your dad playing in his league, and he was just his dad. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but his dad just like fucking destroying the league. But they look identical in terms of their game.
Yeah, so he was actually playing in this tournament. So I actually want to say, it's a tournament up in Kakana every year, and he's played in it for, I don't know, it's probably 25 years, and so he's 50 now. And I gave him crap. I was like, "You're finally getting some press clippings when you suck." But yeah, my dad was a really good player, and we do play very similarly.
Well, he was saying, and Cooper saying, you scored 100 in one of those games.
This is 85. And one of the men's league games. But I was actually there last night, and my brother scored like 65. So it's funny. It's NBA length.
Are they just like, when you guys show up, they're just like, these fucking get out of here?
I mean, at a certain point, it is kind of.
That's what we were talking about earlier, though, when we were like, there's levels to it. You know, when like you go there, you take like the guy, like you said, somebody from the NBA, and you just like drop them in a league like that. But those guys all realize, like, oh yeah, like,
but
that's
imagine
why
that. But then Tim and his 3 brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like the bullies coming. It's just leave us alone.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I would actually credit that league as like a huge development piece for me. Because you're just playing against older guys, and you're playing against guys that, you know, they're all college players for the most part, you know, D3 to D1. And so you're playing against guys that know how to play. They're older now. They might not be like in great shape, but they know how to play the game. They know how to think. They know how to move without the ball, use their body, their physicality. And so I think that was like a huge piece for me on like understanding how to utilize the things that would give me an edge on the court.
How young were you when you started?
8th grade.
Oh, so you just
So I jumped. My dad threw me in there. I was the worst player.
Yeah.
And then in 2 years, I was the best.
So it's just
like
trial by fire.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What was your recruitment like?
Started off pretty early. After my freshman year of high school, I was good. And then that summer we played at Marquette team camp. And I got offered by Marquette. So I'd have been 15. And then from there, like that summer, I picked up a Wisconsin and like some other local, you know, Big Ten schools. And that's kind of where it stayed for a bit. Virginia and Alabama then came in. Obviously the connection to Tony Bennett from being from Wisconsin, and then Duke came in late. That must have been July heading into my senior year.
Was there any part of you that was like, because of the roots you have here, did that sway you at all? Or was it kind of like when Duke came in, you were like, this is Duke, I'm going?
Well, like my mom played at Green Bay, and my dad was a Division III player, so I didn't have like I cheered for the Badgers and I cheered for Marquette, but I didn't have like a huge like fandom that was like maybe like some of the other people. Like there wasn't as much pride in like the college sports as much as I'd say as like the pro sports teams. So that wasn't a huge thing for me. So then when Duke came in, I visited, and I liked that it was a smaller school. That was kind of all she wrote.
What do you think? I saw Jalen Johnson like a month ago or so, and I was curious about this with him too. There's so many good basketball players from Wisconsin. It's just this sort of random, like him, Tyrese, Hero. I mean, there's a list, and it's one of those things that kind of feels like it sneaks up on you because everyone's from a different part of the state, and they came up at different times. But you're starting to get like, it's starting to become one of the sort of like premier states for the sport. What do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a basketball state. You know, we take a lot of pride in our hoops. I think that, you know, has probably a little bit to do with like weather. Like we don't have a ton of baseball guys because
just go in the gym, lock yourself in the gym and grind.
Baseball season in the spring, like
it's tough.
You get 700 games canceled.
Yeah.
But I think we just have a lot of good basketball minds. I think a lot of the high school coaches here are really, really good, and the skills are really, really important. It's almost like a Europe-esque, like learning how to play, learning how to pass, play together, how to shoot, like being like most of the guys from Wisconsin are like really elite shooters. Like those things are really, really important. And I think especially with where the NBA is going, you know, those things are really valued.
Are there outside of the obvious, like different countries, are there pockets in the US do you feel like are similar to that for baseball?
Yeah, I mean, you have like California, Texas, Georgia, Florida are kind of like the main areas where a lot of, because you play year round, you play the most, and then obviously like the Latin American countries, DR, Venezuela, places like that. But to me, for you guys, like the impressive thing is like how good you have to be in high school just to play at one of those high level like D1 programs. Go to like a Duke, a Kansas, Kentucky, like guys are like 18 years old, or watching like you and Cooper at Duke a couple of years ago, just being like, I couldn't imagine like some high school kid having to guard you guys after algebra, going to the game that night, and or because wasn't Cooper supposed to still be in high school when he was like? So
he's a year younger,
right? So you know what I mean? Like
I remember like the rumor was that he was gonna reclass up and go to Duke. And so like that was kind of as I was being recruited by Duke, and I was like, that'd be sweet. We'd have a really good team.
Did you guys know each other before getting there?
No. I mean, before getting to school, yeah, like I'd run into him a couple times, but like we didn't know each other.
How fast with come on as well? Like how fast with the three of you guys? Because they got to college and it was like right away. How fast did you know that crew was going to be able to kind of do what you did?
Well, I think knowing that Cooper was going to be there, I feel like I was pumped when he committed. I feel like, that was we needed the guy. And I think, Kaman came in like late during the senior year, and I was like, I mean, you have no idea with a guy like him. And he got so much better from like the start of the summer to the end of the summer, where you're like, oh man, like we have an awesome big, and then, the players they already had. We felt really good about, the team we could be, and obviously, came up a little short, but, that happens in college hoops, just the nature of it. But we knew pretty early that we were going to have a really good team.
What was your feeling draft night? Did you know a week early? Like, what was your sort of in terms of where it all ended up?
Yeah, I had no idea where it was going to go. I felt good about Charlotte. Like I really liked sitting down with Seeley and Jeff. And I felt like, that was a really good spot for me. I probably felt the best about them, but, you never know.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing. Like you don't really know what's going to happen, but we felt good about Charlotte at 4.
What was your, it's so funny. The drafts are so different.
I was the 23rd pick. I didn't know I was going to get picked I got picked by the Marlins in 2010. But like, I had no idea. Like I was like,
man, that's so
see where I was going to go.
2010?
Yeah, 2010.
So how old were you in 2010?
18.
But
Yeah.
isn't there also, I mean,
you were not 18 in 2010.
But the baseball draft, isn't the baseball draft just weird in general too? Maybe this has changed recently, but obviously there's the signing component to it. So it's like if it feels like the NBA draft, there's NBA and NFL, there's like games, like people are doing mock drafts all the time. There's all kinds of, versus MLB, it's a little bit like how they decide.
Baseball is just more of a coin flip in the draft of like, no draft. You're not really like, you don't really know how anybody's going to like pan out in any draft, because like a lot of it, I think, is just like aptitude for the game and like the ability to like continue to improve. Like those are the guys that end up being really good in their respective sport. But in baseball, it's even more of a lotto ticket because you're so young. A lot of these guys are out of high school. You don't know how it's going to go through like the minor leagues. And then once you get to the big leagues, like you can get drafted and then nobody might see you again for like 5 more years. And then you'll show up with the team, like, oh, like that's the guy we picked like 5 years ago, you know what I mean? In the draft, where NFL and NBA is like, oh, like we're picking this guy, like he's going to be on our team next year and like, be a part of it. Where nobody picked this year in the MLB draft, or maybe not nobody, but most of the guys, you're not going to see them that same season,
Like, obviously just happened, but like, your draft class, like you're going to be tied to this. It's a really good one, but you're going to be tied to this draft class for the rest of your career. Do you know your draft class?
Yeah, we had a really good first round in my year. Harper was 1-1.
That's pretty good.
Machado, Jamison Tyon, like those are the top 3 picks. So they're all still playing, which is good. I think Chris Sale was in there. think DeGrom
This is a
was
loaded
like
class.
DeGrom was in there, but I think he was like later, like a couple rounds later.
Dude, this is like
That's an unreal
This
class.
is like the
Yeah.
96 NBA draft class.
Like Matt Harvey. I don't
Dark Knight.
I don't know if Harvey was in 10. Maybe he was a little early, but
Did you know Bryce before?
yeah, just like playing like in like a lot of like the showcase circuit coming up. Like I didn't know him super well, but we were like, all those guys, I feel like that's probably pretty similar. Like you cross paths at some point on like the showcase circuit or like the national tournaments, and you might not know them super good, but you definitely know of them.
Yeah.
I
I always felt a little disconnected. I was like a little late to that stuff, but like being in Wisconsin, like a lot of those guys are at prep schools, and I was just at Wisconsin Lutheran right down the road from my house.
with the hype
with like
leading into it.
with like the being connected to your class, and like, so I didn't really have that until kind of the draft.
Did you feel like that was an advantage for you in certain ways?
I think so. Like, I was like a little bit ignorant to like, it's like I just thought I was, I'm good as any of those guys. And like, I didn't really see, like, maybe I would have thought about that a little differently if I'd been at all that stuff.
How is
So it's probably good.
If you were to take yourself and your brothers out of it and you're like looking at the current landscape with NIL and all the sort of fast changes that are happening with it, like what's your feeling on everything?
I don't know. I think it's good that players get compensated, because I think it's wrong that, the schools and the coaches and the athletic directors and everybody involved got paid a bunch of money for many, many years without the players getting anything, which is like absurd. I think it's going in a weird spot where like NIL was never intended to be pay for play. And now it clearly is. And now these budgets are getting like incredible. Like they thought that the 20 million thing was going to make the rev share thing was going to make the collectives go away. And now they just have both. And so these guys are making like absurd, like $4 or $5 million.
They're like not leaving.
they're
I don't
staying.
want to go.
So like they're making the most money in like some of the cities they're in.
Yeah.
Like and college towns. So I think it's probably gotten a little out of control, and there's got to be some sort of contract, salary cap system that goes into place. But the NCAA really has no control, and so
I just am wondering. I'm curious, and this is I'm curious with baseball. I'm curious with football as well. At what point the return on investment is so low on the people who are like, if you're paying these, if you have a $25-30 million budget for a team and you come in 7th in the Big Ten, like you're probably not going to be that. You're not going to be happy. You know what I mean?
Nope.
You're gonna think about it a little bit differently. And so, at what point does a drastic shift happen that basically reflects the realities that everybody is not going to be able to, kind of get their money's worth?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, you look at Michigan, who just won for the men's hoops, and it seems like the Big Ten in football is in like a really good spot because they got all their collectives together, and that's why they're doing really well.
Yeah,
that's why they've had 3 national championships in a row. So it seems like the teams that have the most money, the biggest donor base, and that have their like collective together and like in a really good spot are going to be the teams that are successful going forward.
It also seems like, to your point about the youth coming into the MLB, I also feel like, I know with Indiana football, part of why those guys were so successful is they were all older.
Mm-hmm.
They were vets, and they basically had lived. They had these like shared lived.
They're 24 years old.
Yeah, experiences from all these other places, and they all came together. And so that may end up being what ends up happening is like you just have these weird super teams,
semi-professional,
that get formed later on.
Yeah, people always adjust, I feel like, and find ways to compete. And I'm pretty far removed from like the NIL stuff for when I was going through all of it, so I'm not just like in the know of like how that system works, but just like knowing sports, just because you spend a lot of money doesn't guarantee success. Right. Well, at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to the players executing. You might get the talent, but the team still has to play well as a team in order for you to be successful and win a championship and have a good team. So like sports is always going to be that way. It's going to come down to the people that have to play the game. But the more talent you have, the better your odds are obviously going to be to have success.
As a peer of his and someone who has to play in all-star games with him and everything, what do you think when you see Ohtani?
He's a freak. Yeah, if he was just one thing, he would be really good at it. But to be like arguably the best at both things is crazy, his skill set is nobody's ever had that before. You know what I mean? Like not even Babe Ruth had that. To be able to throw 100 off the mound and be one of the best pitchers in baseball, and then obviously one of the best offensive players too. And he's just such a physical freak too. Like he's huge. He probably played one of the best games that's ever been played in the history of baseball against us in the last game of usually when you like get eliminated from the playoffs, like, we were obviously bummed, but we lost like game 4 of the LCS to him. He hit 3 homers and punched out 10 guys on the mound too that game. Like he basically beat us by himself. And you're just like, yeah, well, like, what are you gonna,
See you guys next year.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do? Like we should have probably won like one of the other 3 games before that, because you're just like, yeah, man, like, what are you gonna do? And had a front row seat to like that's gonna be a historical baseball game. Like you might not ever see that happen ever again, especially in the postseason. But yeah, just like what he's done and like to physically be able to do it, I think is like the most impressive part, and like mentally, because you have to prepare. He has to prepare as a hitter. He has to prepare as a pitcher. You have to take care of your body the way like a pitcher takes care of their body, and you have to take care of yourself as a hitter. Like you're playing every day, and then, oh yeah, by the way, like you got to go pitch to like 6-7 innings, and he steals bases and like all that. Baseball is obviously not a physical sport. Like football or even basketball can be a little physical, but it takes a toll on your body when you're doing it every day. Yeah. And for him to be able to do it at that high of a level of both things every day is extremely impressive. And like, he's a unicorn.
Yeah. It's so amazing to me. Like I love when they do like the sports, like body comparison, height, weight comparison.
Yeah.
Like baseball players are huge.
Yeah. The guys
like
have gotten
not always tall, but like,
yeah, guys have gotten a lot bigger. Yeah, guys have gotten a lot bigger over the years. You have like the Aaron Judges and, Stanton and Ohtani and O'Neal Cruz, like even Ellie De La Cruz, like guy in the Reds. Guys are pretty. It's just, I think in every sport, like the athlete's just gotten a lot more like physical, and the games are all played at a really high level now. Like you can just look back on like eras and just like the kind of athlete that's showing up in all these leagues now is insane.
Did you have anyone like that your rookie year who you were maybe not the Ohtani levels, probably different stratosphere, but just from a physicality standpoint?
I mean, Giannis, I think what he does is just like as an athlete and as his strength, his speed, just as like a pure athletic, strong, muscular human being. Like he's probably the most impressive athlete, just how fast he can move for his size. I feel like Wemby is in that category of just like how fluid he can move as a 7'6" basketball player.
That's so crazy.
Pulling threes.
Yeah, pulling threes. Like I remember I was like, I pushed him out to like just a foot inside the 3-point line, and he just like shot. Like that's a tough shot. That's a weird shot to be shooting from, and he just shot it, and it was like I contested, and I wasn't even up to his chin. Like there was no point of even trying to contest. But yeah, he's a crazy one, because we have Ryan Kalkbrenner on our team who's 7'1", big from Creighton, and he just like Wemby's like a head taller than him.
Yeah, just giant.
And you just go out there, and he's not like super strong in his frame, but just the way he can
teams
move.
at certain points they just stop going in the paint.
Yeah.
They're just like, we'll just like, these guys hit a lot of jumpers, so it might work. But like, but for certain teams, it's kind of like you're living and dying by the 3 because you're just not going near them.
Yeah, it's so much. It's not as much the shots he blocks; it's just the shots he deters guys from taking. Like the guys will drive in on like a fast break, and they'll see him running down, and they'll Steve Nash dribble it out.
Yeah,
on the baseline.
Was it weird with Giannis for like with you growing up here? Obviously, it's like once you get into the league, you may have been a fan of whoever, but that goes away quick because you got to play. But with him in particular, with you being as big of a Milwaukee guy as you are, the first time you played him.
Yeah, I mean, I think just being in Milwaukee too, and like getting pumped to go. Like we're staying at the trade. Like I'm looking at the Fiserv Forum the night before. Like, man, this is gonna be awesome. Like going to the games here and being able to play in there. But yeah, like Giannis, he's been a staple of my fandom and really my life. Like in the winters, like you're watching the Bucks, and so it was really, really cool to compete against him. And obviously he's a all-time Hall of Famer. So whenever you get a chance to go up against guys like that, I mean, it's special. But to do it here, and raises it to a new level.
What do you think of the rule stuff of ABS? Or I guess all of it.
It's been good. I think all the rules like baseball's put in the last like few years, it's been awesome for the game. And I think you can kind of see it in like the popularity of baseball and like all the stuff that's going on. And we just came off the WBC, which was awesome.
Dude,
like I think even people that weren't really like baseball fans, like kind of got drawn into the WBC and it was like, this is crazy. And then the World Series from last year was a really good World Series, and like baseball's just in a really good spot right now. And I think all the rule changes of like the pace of play stuff is kicked up, and
the pitch clock.
The pitch
awesome.
clock's been amazing.
How was that for as a player?
Awesome. Like, we used to play like those 4-hour like marathon games. And you're like, dude, this sucks. Like just a regular 9-inning game.
Ryan Braun's like adjusting his jersey.
Yeah, exactly. And you were just like, man, like this is brutal. And then like now the pitch clock has just like sped up the game. And you've realized that like there was so much like just like wasted dead time during the game. And the ABS is cool because there's such a strategy component behind it now too. It's more than just like check it, because you don't want to run out of challenges. And then there's like good times to challenge, or times where it's like, all right, maybe it's beneficial to just like eat it right now. And just like, it's not a good time to maybe waste one here. And you don't want to be caught without them at the end of the game. So you're like, well, it's the third inning right now. And like,
also, I don't know if this is.
I just love. Sorry, I don't. Yeah, I love the tap
the hat.
It's just like such a fu.
And the fans love it too, because like, it goes up on the scoreboard and like the pitch comes in and like everyone's like and then it's like ball and the place goes nuts. Or they've been like a couple like walk-off ABS challenges this year where a guy challenges like a 3-2 pitch with the bases loaded and then it's like comes in and it's like ball and like you win the game. The fans go nuts.
What was the one? It was I think it was first couple games of the year, might have been the Reds or somebody, but one of the umps got it wrong like 3 times in a row. By the third one, the fans, it's almost like what's happening on the field doesn't matter as much as like the fan versus
well, it's just like it just engages the fans, because it's like another thing that comes with the experience of like going to the game. You know what I mean? And there's been a learning curve for everybody. Like we've had to learn and the umps have had to learn, and because like there's a definite strike zone now, before like it was always just kind of like, okay, like I think that's a ball. I think that's a strike. This umpire thinks that's a ball. That's a strike. But then the next day, like the zone could be different based on like who's the umpire. Right. So you had to learn like, all right, this is what a ball is. This is what a strike is. And like, you're still kind of learning because like, my zone would be different than yours than it would be from you because of like, it goes off how tall you are and we get measured for it in spring training. And so you have to be like, all right, this is the top of my strike zone. This is the bottom. Like in and out's kind of easy because it's like, is it over the plate or not? But up and down is challenging because like you have to know yours and nobody else can really help you with that and that's the hard part of the umpires is because like I might be hitting and then next batter, you're up, and then next batter, you're up. All 3 of us have a different strike zone, like up and down. Yeah. So like they've done a really good job for them. Like everybody likes to bury umpires, but like they've done a really good job, and they're in a tough spot too because like they're like, all right, we got to learn this too.
They're
like,
under the gun.
And it's like, what's top and bottom for all these guys? Because not everybody's the same height. So it's like the strike zone is not just like this is the strike zone for the whole game. It changes every hitter. So like, it's hard for them. And like, they've done a pretty good job. And like a lot of these challenges, like they're right. It's like 50-50. Like half the time we're right, half the time they're right.
Right. Yeah. Is that what it is? The breakdown?
It's pretty close to like 50-50.
I've got to be feeling so happy when they're right. When they're like,
you guys. Probably. It's also really funny when like a guy challenges one and it's like right down the middle. It's like, dude, what were you doing?
Do you think there've been fewer ejections?
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be ejections. Like right now, it's because of like you either let the guy challenge it too late, like because you're supposed to do it like right away. If you wait a little bit, like the umpire is really not supposed to honor it. It's supposed to be like instantaneous. Like either the catcher or the hitter has to do it. But there's always going to be ejections in baseball. People are always just never going to see.
Sometimes you just want to go home.
Or you're just like, I don't know what happened. I think it's just like the everydayness where like sometimes you're just like, all right.
Did you get any tees this year?
I got one, but it was just like I drove baseline. The guy fouled me, and I hit him with like an off arm. And so sometimes the refs will give you a tee because it's just a free throw, and then you keep the ball. Whereas like it would be a free throw, and then they get the ball. So, but you still get fined $2,000 for it. So I have a technical foul, even though
you get fined $2,000 for every tech you get.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Draymond is racking up
racking up the bill.
He's racking up.
That's crazy.
So don't get technicals, and you definitely get fined if you talk about the refs.
You have the awesome ejection story.
Yeah,
you told it in like a very comedic way.
Yeah, I've been ejected 5 times, but it's been like 4 or 5 years. Like I don't want to be ejected. Like it's not good. You shouldn't do it. But it has happened a few times. It has happened a few times. But like it's just not the way. Like I was a lot younger, like doing that. And
we can rehash it.
I mean, if you're gonna get ejected, there's like times to do it where you're just like, all right, this isn't really gonna like cost the team, hopefully. And so this was like one of those. We were like losing by a few in the 9th inning. I think it was like 3-2 count or maybe something like that, or maybe it wasn't. But it was like a check swing. I think I probably went, but we were like losing. And you're just like pissed off. They appealed like the third base umpire. He says you went. It's like strike 3. I think I either put my bat down because I thought I walked, or I might have just dropped it on accident. Like it kind of just fell out of my hand. I was just waiting for like the verdict down there. And so I got punched out. I was pissed. And the umpire, I was going back to the dugout. I was like, all right, whatever. Like it was like 2 outs in the 9th inning or something like that. It's going back to the dugout, and the umpire was like, hey, pick your bat up. And I was like, nah, dude. Like, I was already pissed because like I just punched out. I didn't think I went. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. And then I was like, nah, dude, I'm not picking this bat up. So I was like, I had 2 choices. I was either like, okay, like, sorry, I'll pick it up. Or I was like, you know what, fuck this. I was like, you fucking pick it up. Gone. And then I went back to the, like, just walked straight back into the locker room. And like a couple minutes later, the game was over anyway, because, you know, we ended up just losing. So like, that's one of them where you're like, all right, that wasn't like that big of a deal. But if you get tossed in like the first inning or something like that, like that's never good, because now somebody who didn't know they were playing is going to be playing, and now you're out the entire game. Now you're a guy short on the bench. Like you never want to get thrown out like early in the game. And it's just not a good look either, just because you just don't really have to get ejected. You know, there's always ways to like not get ejected, and like you have better relationships with umpires if you don't do that. And like, I think all the guys that I've like, maybe they would disagree with this, but like all the umpires that you get thrown out by, like you kind of end up having like a better relationship with, because you can kind of always like joke about it. Like, yeah, dude, like my bad for like losing my mind.
Who did, I should probably know this, but who leads the league in ejections?
I think like active, I think Bryce does. Harper.
Does.
I think I saw somewhere he's got like 20 something. But yeah, I mean, it happens. Like you just kind of like, and I think the umpires understand sometimes where like guys are just like so competitive, or you're just like, it just happens where you just like black out and like lose your mind and you're gone. I only had that happen like one time, and then going to first. That was a long time. I just completely lost my shit. And I got back in the locker room after the game. After I got thrown out, I was like, "Why'd you do that, dude?" Like, I was like, "That's gonna be so expensive later."
I was gonna say it
really wasn't. I don't even remember, but I remember. But then like the guy at first base is like the home plate umpire the next day. So like you're back in the game the next day. And you're just like, "Hey, so like my bad. That's on me." It was really funny because that play happened. I got ejected, and then that was 5 years ago. And I think like it was either this year or last year, the play that I got ejected on happened, and that umpire was at first base. He made the call that I wanted him to make at the time, And he looked in our dugout and me and him like made eye contact. And I was like, hey dude. Like, and he lost it on the field, dude. Like he started laughing so hard. Like and like, I thought it was really funny too. So it was just like perfect timing of like, hey man, remember like 5 years ago? So we both like got a laugh about it. Cause like I went over the top on that one. I was like, oh shit. Like I felt like really bad. Like yelled at the whole crew. And like went back and I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, lock it in.
Did you feel like there was a point in your career where you were like, felt more comfortable, even just like talking to the guys in the other teams, like during the game?
Yeah. I just feel like that's like kind of earned, like you earn your stripes a little bit. And like as a rookie, like I always feel like you should just like, you put your head down, like you kind of just,
with that.
Yeah. Where you just kind of like, hey, I just need to like prove that I belong here. Like, be seen, not heard, like just do your stuff. Carry yourself as like professional, like on the field, practice. And then I feel like as you play against guys more, like guys get to know you, you've gained their respect a little bit because you've stuck around the league, you've carried yourself well. And then like that kind of happens and like your reputation follows you throughout the game, like guys, you end up playing with guys that go to other teams, that go to other teams, that go to other teams. And like, I'm sure you've done it where you're like, hey, like, how was so-and-so? Like when you play with them, or like they cool or how was that?
Yeah.
Or, same thing with like umpires and stuff like that. Yeah. Like they stick around too. So like, you guys have all been doing this for 10, 12 years and, y'all kind of live like a similar life. So like the respect factor is like kind of there as far as like, hey, we're in this together. Like this is our world, our life. Like, and it's a small world, sports is a small world. Like everybody ends up knowing everyone. So
I think Connaughton was like really good at like, messing with like the refs before the game, or just like talking to him and just like he like clearly knows him. Or sometimes he'd bring me up over there when he's like talking to the refs and just be like, "You act like this guy, you'll be all right." Like, it's cool. But those relationships are really important because those are the guys who are going to be, helping decide outcomes of games.
Yeah. Did you feel like that this year in terms of the earning the stripes part and even just kind of guys in other teams, obviously with your teammates, you're going to, the more you're with them, the more you're going to bond with them. But guys in other teams, did you feel like they started to treat you differently at all?
Like the exact point he made, like I was just like, really, I'm not going to like try to talk to guys. I'm not going to like, definitely not going to like talk shit to guys. Like I'm going to really just like try to focus on what I'm doing. But I think as the season went on, like, like after game, like stay healthy, bro type talks got a little more in depth, which was cool. And then obviously like the guys we talked about in like your class, like you're going to have a little bit more of a bond with those guys. But, I thought it was cool. Like you said, as the season went on, getting a little, I don't know, those conversations got a little more in depth and just like good game.
It'll be weird when guys come up to you after games like, hey man, like you were my favorite player growing up. Like wait till that happens to you.
Did that happen to you a lot?
It's happened a few times where I'm just like, damn, like getting old, or like, or like when I play against like somebody that like grew up in Florida or Miami, I was like, hey dude, like when I was a little kid and you were playing for the Marlins, like you were my favorite player. I'm like, damn, dude, like I'm getting, thank you. Like that's awesome. Like, damn, I'm getting old. Like, but it makes you feel good too. Cause like I've done it like the right way where some like a kid that was, not in baseball at all before this was like, oh, this is my favorite player. And cause like I had that growing up, playing against guys that you're like, oh man, like this is cool.
I remember telling like, Jamal Cain from the Magic who played at Marquette. And so like, I don't know, he's probably like year 4 maybe in the league. So like he hasn't even been in the league that long. I was like, I bumped him like during one of our games during the season. I was like, yo, I watched you growing up. And he was like, no, you didn't. I was like, dude, I'm from Milwaukee. You went to Marquette. I was like, all right on.
Like, all right, yeah, you did.
That'd be a funny thing to make up. You're lying about that.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. No, you didn't. It's a great line back to you.
Do you guys I've talked about this with like in other episodes about like the flow state. And it feels like when I was even thinking about this when you were talking about the swing stuff, when part of what makes it so crazy is like when you get into a place where you feel so, I'm sure you've had this with shooting moments where you feel so confident that it almost feels like there's nobody else around. Do you feel like that is a thing that you can know right away is happening, or is it all of a sudden it just snaps in and then you just almost like black out to a certain extent?
For baseball, I feel like it happens like over time. Like it's just like a culmination of events. I kind of had that like 2018, 2019, where just like it kind of just like ended up in that place, and just like the whole game like slows down, and like it's just a lot slower, and you're just so in tune with like everything, and like it doesn't feel like easy. Obviously, it's not an easy game, but like it felt like kind of easy of just like it's just kind of what you were doing, and you're just so focused, and it's hard to describe of like and you can't just like be like, oh, I'm just gonna go do this again. It's just
it seems like you're describing like you're very present.
Yeah, you're just like in the zone. Like you're very confident. I think that's like the biggest thing is like you have so much confidence, and you're so like you have so much belief in like what you're doing and like your process and everything that it kind of like leads to those results, and then you get some results, and then like you're off and running. You know what I mean? Like you have to. It's a culmination of things. I don't think it's like any one thing. I think it's just a bunch of things combined, headed in like the right direction, and then after a little while, you're like, all right, now I've arrived to this like place of just everything's slower, everything makes sense, like the game slows down, and I guess that's what people would probably call like the flow state.
Yeah, I feel like what separates good players to great players, and like I feel like there were stretches this year or stretches in my career where it's like 3, 4, 5 games where you feel like you're in a really good spot, and then you kind of come out of it, and then you're trying to get back to that. Where like great players are like he's in this stretch, this MVP level stretch, where it's like you can't even tell that there's stretches. Like there's just like a whole long, it like almost turns into like a month, into 2 months, into a season. Where I think like when I go and see like watch some of the best players in the NBA play, like they're doing it for a month at a time, 2 months at a time. Where for me it's been like I can really put that together for like 3, 4 games. And so I think focusing on those things that can get you more present, get you more in that slowed down state, so you can sustain that type of play for longer periods of time, I think really separates players.
The guy I always think about, who we talked about with this in the show with him before, is Steph, who's just sort of like that, where it's like when Steph gets going, it doesn't matter. But it does. It's an interesting point with baseball. Baseball's so different in that, obviously, because the batting and defense are just you're mentally in a completely different place, and so it's like you can be so locked into the plate, but that has no impact on how you would sort of play on the other side of the diamond. Yeah,
baseball's so hard just from the fact of like you can be like in that state, and then like literally walk into the cage one day, like do like your routine before, like then you're like, oh shit, like what happened, and you're constantly just trying to fix yourself. And like even in those like really good stretches, like there's messiness to it. It's just very short. It'll be like you'll have a really good stretch for like a week, have like a bad game or two, and then it's like right back into like one of those stretches, as opposed to like a week of really good, a week of like not so good, a week of okay, back to like a week of good. It was just like week of really good, 1 or 2 days where like shit hit the fan. Okay, we're back. And it was just like being able to like fix yourself really quickly and like get back to being like locked in was the biggest thing. And just like being like obsessed with it. And, I bet you if you ask like coaches and people that like played with me during that time, they would have told you like this guy's out of his freaking mind. Like he's nuts. And some of those guys are still around. Like, Jason Lane's still around. He was like one of our hitting coaches at the time. Like I bet you if you asked him, he'd be like, yeah, dude, like you were crazy. But it wasn't. It was just like, or like you would just like not get complacent about things. I'm not saying I do now, but it was just like, everyone's like, dude, you're doing like really good. Like, why are you so pissed off about like this? Or you think like imminent doom is like around the corner of like, because it was just like, you just never let yourself get complacent and think that you had it figured out. It was just like, no, it has to be this way like every day. And just like obsessed over trying to make it like the best version it could be. Like I still am, but just during like those stretches, it was,
The other thing you guys have to deal with, Pete mentioned this, was like, especially when like you can, depending on where you're playing in the field, you can have like you can get the ball hit to you once. Like you can actually be in a place where
I've
you're
had
not
games
that
where
involved.
I didn't touch the ball on defense because we've had such a really good pitching staff here since I've been here. Like when these guys were really doing it, like during like the middle of like our really good runs, like I had some games where I played the outfield and didn't touch the ball.
That's so weird.
No fly balls. Nobody got a hit. Like I was there. Like a fan could have played left field that night and we would have been completely fine. Where guys are just dominant, Corbin Burns, Peralta, Woodruff, and then like a lot of our bullpen arms were some of like the best in baseball. And we've had some really, really good pitching staffs here to where you're just like on defense, just hanging out,
What is the reason for that? Like, what are the biggest reasons? Like, how is that? It seems like whoever comes in, it's like.
Yeah, we've got really good like pitching development here. And like the guys that, we'll get guys from other places that maybe didn't have success. And then they come here and find a lot of success. Just, you'd have to ask the pitching guys, but from like a guy that doesn't do anything on the pitching side and I just get to watch it. It just seems like they get guys to like believe in themselves and kind of show them what they do really well and maybe make a tweak or two that takes them to like the next level. And I think our place now has become like a place where when you come in here on like the pitching side, like there's already buy-in of like, all right, if they're going to help me make an adjustment, like it's going to help, it's going to be for a reason. It's going to like lend itself to success because of the track record with everybody else. A lot of it's just been like a lot of really talented guys.
It seems like to be a thing that the Brewers do is they bring in guys that, were really talented.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like even like Andrew Vaughn is a really high draft pick. Come in.
Lonnie, a lot of it's
fresh start.
Our culture too of like we have a lot of like really good group of guys and Murph does a good job of like letting everybody be themselves but with accountability. Like he likes we get to have fun and he keeps it loose, but like there's an understanding amongst like everybody there that like when it's time to post for the game and it's time to go out there, like there's a standard and like I better do this a certain way, otherwise like it's going to be a problem because we've created a culture of winning and it's expected. And if you don't go about it that way, then like you're going to be gone. And Murph's not going to allow that, and like the guys on the team won't allow it that have been around for a little while just because of how it's gone. But when guys come in, like they have fun, it's a good group. And so like I think you get the best out of guys that way when you're excited to like come to the field and play, and like the grind of the season doesn't seem like it's as much of a grind. Obviously winning helps that because it's way more fun than losing, but so you combine talent with that looseness and then just the way guys go about it. I think you get the best version out of a lot of the players that come here.
Have you noticed, you've only been there obviously 1 year, but have you noticed that with your guys' culture as well? Because it feels like that is a common thread. Any successful team, you have to have that.
Yeah, I feel like you have to enjoy each other, enjoy each other's company. There's got to be a balance of, like you said, like having fun, but also being accountable. Like the best players and, the best coaches and teams have fun within that accountability. Like they can hold each other accountable and still have a good time competing and playing at a high level. And so, I feel like that's what we are striving to build. I feel like we had like a really good group and good guys that, enjoyed being around each other. And, we'll just keep building towards that, which is cool. And it's like fun to be a part of something like that.
The fun thing with them, just talking to guys in other teams, would be like, because I feel like by the end of the year, people understood what you guys had, what they were, but you mentioned the Utah game, you won by like 60. They would play so fast and they had so many great shooters that they would just overwhelm you. It would kind of like teams would almost like sneak up on people and then all of a sudden they'd be down 45.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some of that. And like when like the Hornets last like 10 years, it's not been great. Not been great. So, when teams are going into a game, especially like early, I mean, we start at 4-14 as well. So like, especially early in the season, there's like sort of a, like, oh, we can relax.
Yeah.
Tonight.
You'd sneak up on them. Yeah.
This is the Miami Sunday game.
Yeah. So then we started popping people. And so we gain respect that way.
Yeah.
That like, it's no slouch of like, it's not gonna be an easy
similar
game
to us. Like that's how we, even during this stretch, we've had years where like, people think we're not going to be very good. And then like the middle of the year, it's like, oh man, like here we go, sounds very similar. Honestly, sounds like really similar of like how you guys play. Like it's hard to play fast pace in baseball, but I feel like our team plays like a fast pace, and the more the league I think is going to that now, to where, if you're not going to just like strictly out talent people, you have to win and make up the margins in a different way. And the way we did it was just like, try to play like really fast and cause chaos and make it to where it was just an uncomfortable experience during the game. Like you might beat us, but you're going to know like, man, like that was a fight, or it took everything, or like that wasn't very fun, or it wasn't a comfortable night. That's kind of like the identity we've tried to create, and like the culture. And like the hard part about culture is like everybody talks about like, oh, our culture, or we want to have like a good one or not a good one. But the way you have it is like no one person thinks that they're better than the other. It's just like, hey, we're all in here to try to win. And like, I don't care if like I'm the guy, you're the guy. Like as long as we win, we're going to have a good time. And like the best players on the team are just like hanging out with the boys and just being normal. And like, it's all just like one collective group, and no one's like, oh, I'm not going to go hang out with these guys because like I'm better than, That's like a good culture. Obviously winning fixes everything. If you're winning, you're going to be having fun, because winning's, if you're losing, it's going to be a bad culture because losing sucks, especially in pro sports. But if you're winning, like everybody is happy, from like the coaching staff on down to the players. But to get that, you have to have like an unselfishness. And for guys, just like, yeah, dude, I don't care if you're the guy or I'm the guy. Like I just want to win. And that kind of just cascades down and ends up.
Well, I think it's like a huge thing when you have like an MVP player that believes that, then like nobody else has an excuse not to be. And so like when you say top on down, like when you embody that, like it really goes well.
Yeah,
for the rest of the team.
But we've had pitchers that are like that.
Right.
Like Woody's like that. Woodruff.
He seems like the man.
He's awesome. Like Murph's cool. Like our ownership's cool. Like our front office. Like everybody is just kind of in it for each other. And we've kind of like rallied around like the underdog role, and we've had guys that have not had success at other places, or kind of maybe like the last stop. If it doesn't go well here, then like who knows what's going to happen for your career. Like, I don't want to say like a last chance, but kind of like a last chance, or guys that have really struggled and they come here and find a lot of success. So you get a lot of buy-in, and you get guys with like that kind of mentality, and guys that have kind of come from we've got a couple of guys that are from JUCOs, and guys that have been released, and guys that have, struggled and been like add-ins on trades, and just guys that you wouldn't like kind of pencil in on a roster and be like, oh, this guy's a first rounder. This guy made 200 million, 300 million. Like that's not our roster. That doesn't mean it's not good. It's just guys that have done it different ways. And I think when you have guys that have experienced that in their career, like rejection or having to fight or make it through adversity, you get like a cool collection of teammates, because like they realize like they've had like a unique route to get to where they're at. Yeah. So
it's like a chip. I mean, you're kind of, I was curious if you had that even from when we were talking about the high school experience a little bit, of just being like, I'm not the most celebrated. I'm not in all these fancy tournaments. I'm not doing all of these, kind of just here. You're just kind of playing here. Do you feel like you developed any version of that yourself before you even got to college?
I always try to approach it from like a perspective with like humility. And I think, that has helped just like my mindset, where I'm always staying grounded, and like, there's always something I can do better, always something I can do, I can work on. And I felt like that really, really helped. Never believing about yourself that you're like really that good. And I think that really it benefits you in the long run. And so I feel like there was a little bit of that in high school. And that, that definitely just kind of, I skipped some of the steps of like this being at this camp, or being a McDonald's All-American, or being some of that stuff. And just kind of focusing on getting better, and on myself. And I think that helped me in a different way, and allowed me to, really get a whole lot better in a year.
Yeah, you didn't make any of the All-American teams or anything like that?
I made the Jordan
one, but not like the McDonald's one or anything like that.
Didn't make the McDonald's, which was, I wasn't like super upset about not getting it. I was kind of upset more so for like Wisconsin. It's like, dang.
Yeah.
Like we can't get one guy on this thing. Like,
I didn't make any of that stuff either. It's like in high school or anything like that. Like I've never made any of that stuff, but Yeah, that's a good point about like humility and like always trying to get better. You're always going to have to approach each year of like, how can I get better from like last year? Like no matter how long you play, like you're always going to have to like keep getting better, because that's just the nature of pro sports. Because each year there's a new group of guys, and everyone's constantly trying to like beat you or take your job, or, you know, so you have to go into it like that. Like I need to keep getting better each year. Like those are the guys that survive for a long time, or the guys that are able to continue to like find ways to get better and not believe the hype. Because, you know, the thing about hype is just, it's like the same thing as if people say you suck. Like it doesn't really mean anything until you play the games. Like you have to play the games. If they say like your team's going to be great, or they say your team's going to suck before the season starts, nothing's happened yet. So like just because everybody says you're good doesn't mean you're going to be good, or just because they say you're going to be a bad team doesn't mean you're going to be bad either, because you still have to play the games. Like you're going to go prove it over the course of the long season. So there's no point in, you know, believing that if someone says that you're bad, there's no point in believing that they say that you're bad if you're not going to believe them if they say that you're good either. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day either way.
Were there anything from the season off the court, like on the road? Did you pick up anything new? Was there anything that you, in this process of sort of figuring out the physical and mental side of the game, that you feel like you have become a new passion?
It's a good question. I feel like pouring into, especially like in college, and just like that was kind of like an emphasis, is like pouring into the people around you and the relationships around you. I think it's not really like a new hobby or anything, but like that was a new focus of like, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time with these people. Like I'm not going to have my family to always roll back on and go home to. So pouring into the relationships with everybody that I've had in that I come across in the organization, whether that's, you know, trainer, coach, teammate, you know, chef, like that was like a new approach that I've taken within the last year of like, I'm going to get to try to know this person. And so I think, you know, that's been a big development in my life, more so than like, you know, a hobby or anything. But I think that's been a big focus for me.
We should shout out, you have an event on the 21st.
Yeah, I got a home plate charity May 21st here. It's the 4th year of it. Something it's been a lot of fun over the years. It's a concert. Usually a bunch of the guys on the team come out, do a lot of good for the community. This year, Jake Owen's headlining it. We got Isaac Slade, who used to be the former lead singer of The Fray. He's opening up for him and doing some stuff. Yeah, it's a band called the Nicotine Dolls that's been a part of it for a few years. They're opening up for both those guys. So it's a lot of fun. If you're in town, you're more than welcome to come by and check it out.
How did this start?
Just wanted to do good in the community. 4 years ago, it's progressively got bigger every year, and just give back to the people that support us throughout the year. And so it's my 9th year in Milwaukee, and gotten to know a lot of people in the city, and just use your platform that you've been blessed with to do good and to help people out. And that's kind of how this started. And then it's progressively just gotten bigger. Once we didn't know if it'd be a success or not, or if people would support it, and been fortunate that that's been the case, and it's been really successful and been able to do a lot of good. So each year's gotten better. Last year, the Goo Goo Dolls were the
hell yeah
the performers. So we've had some cool people.
Buffalo.
Fortunate,
you're pulling,
and so they are awesome. I think Scotty McCreery did it the year before, and just a lot of fun, you know. And it's one of those like charity events where that was the goal behind it, was to like have fun, and people would be excited to come to it, and gotten a lot of help from people in the community to do it. And my family's been very involved in doing it as well. So it's coming up quick, but it's a lot of fun. It's at the Landmark Credit Union Live, right by Fiserv and the Trade and all that stuff. So we're really excited to check it out, and it'll be a great night.
That's awesome. I think we'll close with this. It's been a great convo about your guys' journey to get where you are today. Is there a specific lesson for both of you that you feel like it could be a one-word thing, it could be a mantra, that you feel like someone has given you that you try to are now passing on to the younger generation, the people who, you know, look up to you?
I think for me, are like people that are in like the professional sports life, or something that I would tell somebody like you that's just beginning that journey, is just just enjoy it, man. And like the fact that you're talking about like relationships with people and experiences, like that's the stuff that you remember at the end of the day. And like, obviously the seasons are great and all that, but like each team's different. Each year's like a different group of people that you go through things with. And like the seasons go by really quick and you'll look back and be like, man, that team from like 5 years ago was super fun. Like we had this guy and this guy. And like, remember when we did that, or like this game, or some of them end up being like special playoff runs and you're just like, man. And then you'll see like just over the years, like they all change and you'll be like, man, I'm 10 years into this thing. Like where did all that time go? And stuff like that, where, it feels like it goes slow when you're in the middle of it, or like this is always going to be how it is. But, just in taking time to step back, like it's a grind, like you put your head down and you try to be like successful, and that's important too. But I think it's also important to like take a step back sometimes and like be like, man, this is like, this is really cool. Like this is a really cool like life experience that not a lot of people get to do, because that's just your life. So you get kind of caught up into it as it being like normal. It's really not normal, and it doesn't last forever. So you want to just be like, wow, this is a really cool thing that we get to do, and being able to be successful at it and get to meet and know a lot of cool people over the course of that journey. So I would just say like, enjoy it, take it all in, the good, the bad, everything in between. And, when you look back on it, you're like, man, that was a good run. It was awesome and wouldn't change a thing.
That's what he told me. I threw out the first pitch.
Yeah. I was like, no, it goes like
last year, like same sort of sentiment. He said it pretty good. So I'll leave it with
that was extremely well said.
Yeah,
fellas, thank you for doing this. We'll do it again.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you.